In this video I want to talk about the two main benefits that really surprised me from actually starting properly on social media. Because starting with social media properly has been a whole process for me. So I was an athlete, and obviously my career was kind of going on as social media was developing. But I never took it seriously, and I gained followers, but really just kind of through my connection to other athletes almost, and being involved in big events, right? So I never took it seriously. And then I had some negative events in my life, which probably is a story for another day, but the essence of it is I had some stuff leaked online that should never really have been out there. And my way of trying to deal with it was to just hide for good, rather than actually, address it, admit my mistakes, own the story, and then, make content about it. And the truth is, for me in my career, social media could have been, and probably would have been, exactly what I needed to do to improve my personal brand and these things. So I knew this in the back of my mind, but I ran away from it. And so that was a big reason for me not wanting to do it. But also, another reason was hopefully you can hear this noisy Mexican streets. But yeah, the other thing is I was kind of on the bandwagon of social media isn't good for us. It takes our attention, it makes us easily distractible, we're not connecting with people in real life. And these things are true, and there are big, big problems with social media, okay? But there are some also massive benefits, and there was a couple of benefits that actually really surprised me. And that's what I particularly want to talk about today. So, but the first one is, I'm a massive overthinker in general, always have been. Big, big, big overthinker. But actually, overthinking, what I've now come to realize through social media, it's just a sign of ego. Because what social media teaches you to do is deal with embarrassment, deal with cringe, deal with all these uncomfortable thoughts and feelings, right? And so, by doing that, and actually clicking post and going through that process, you suddenly then realize that actually, no one really cares anyway. You spend all this time stressing, and you think, because you're the main character in your story, so you think that when you click post, there's basically the whole world, or at least your, a close circle of people are waiting and sitting on your every move, Freddie's posted, let's see what he has to say, and they sit there and they deconstruct their message. And it's not to say that there won't be some judgment, of course there's gonna be judgment, naturally people do that, but no one really cares. They might judge for it. Most people probably won't even judge. Some might judge, and then they'll try, okay, and then suddenly they'll forget about it and just get on with their day. So you kind of start to get over that hurdle, and you realize that, actually, I thought I was so important and special, but actually no one really cares about what I have to say anyway. So you learn that, which is really powerful, because it's your own ego that just gets in the way and stops you actually talking about what you want to talk about. And so once you get over that, it's quite freeing. And you realize that actually I can just express what I want to express. And then that leads you to the next benefit, which is that you start to actually craft your message more. You start to realize and develop what you actually think. Because for most of us, right, and this is certainly the case for me, we kind of go through life just carrying everything around in our heads, all of our ideas and thoughts just bouncing around in our minds like marbles. And by not writing them down, by not keeping track of them, by not trying to express them or write properly, you never actually fully start to develop what you actually think. And then that's it. And then, so that coupled with the first reason of realizing that no one cares, so then you start to get your message out there, then you start to improve your message, and you start to think about your message. This is actually what I believe about this, and this is actually what I want to talk about. And then your message starts to improve. Because you're actually thinking about it, you're practicing talking, you're practicing writing, you're practicing thinking. It starts to become more coherent, and you also see what people start to get interested in as well. You then connect with other people over that. And you start to notice which of your messages actually connect and hit home to other people. And then, so as that all happens, then actually more people do start to listen. So then it all improves. And so, just purely as a personal development practice, actually posting on social media, whether that is YouTube or short form content, super powerful. Because for me, I was never particularly interested in journaling and those things, and writing wasn't something I was best at in school. I struggled with writing a little bit. Maths came a bit easier. I preferred maths and science, and I sort of thought, writing, why do I even need that? But actually it's crucial, for all of us, because writing is thinking. actually. It's clear thinking. And unless you actually write things down or articulate things, the thinking doesn't become clear. And you think an idea makes sense in your head until you actually try to explain it. So then that's what happens with content. Content forces you to do that. It forces you to question your ideas, look at your ideas, and then you actually develop that. And then suddenly you'll think one day, like, I want to talk about this. This is something important to me. I want to talk about this. Whereas if you're not doing social media, often that thought doesn't really come to your mind. And then the other cool way of looking at it is, on top of all of this, you never know who might be needing to hear your message. Whatever the message is. Like, you really never know. Because you might think, oh, well, no one cares about what I want to say anyway. Right? But with the first two reasons, that doesn't matter, because it's actually about you and refining your message. But I guarantee there's always one person who probably needed to hear your exact message on that exact day, and coming from you. Okay, you don't have, it's not about being special or about having loads of followers. There's real power in that. And I felt that, like on certain platforms like LinkedIn, for example, where I've made some posts. I'm not big on LinkedIn, I don't have a load of followers. And then a close friend of mine has said, like, oh, I saw them in person, like, oh, I saw your LinkedIn post about this, and I really, I really liked that, and I really agreed with what you said, and it really clicked to me. And I suddenly thought, like, wow, that's cool. How cool is that? Like, maybe it only got, 8 likes or something on LinkedIn, but one person looked at that and thought, oh, that's helpful, that's valuable. It helped them, it improved their day. So, yes, I'm not saying with this video that there aren't issues with social media. There are big problems. And we have to learn to manage that. But it is also, I'm a bit of a convert. It's also a power for good in many ways. Particularly when you start to align your algorithm as well to more positive things. Because you can influence your algorithm. If you see videos that you don't like, it's because you're clicking on them and watching them. Yeah. So, you can affect that, and you can make it a real positive space. And if you choose to only comment positive things and only engage positively, then, and ignore people saying stupid stuff, then it actually does become a powerful place. So yeah, that's just been a really wonderful lesson for me. And so, again, for anyone, I would encourage you, and particularly on a platform like YouTube, because no one's going to be paying attention to you anyway. Let's say if you started a new account and you just started sharing messages that felt good to you, no one's going to be paying attention to you initially, in the early stages when A, you're not very good, and B, you're still trying to figure out your message. So then by the time you actually do get good, once you start growing, if you do, you'll be much better then anyway. So then at that point, people are going to see much better content, and you'll be more content with that because you would have felt the benefits of it and putting yourself out there. I'm not here to say that hitting publish isn't difficult, and I'm not here to say that social media is this perfect thing, but if you are an overthinker in particular, like I am, and therefore you might think that social media is the worst thing for you, I would actually combat that. Yes, it's going to be stressful. Trust me, it's going to be stressful. But there are benefits to it that you don't yet realize, and it's, I'm going to call it that. I'm going to call it an exposure therapy. For someone who overthinks a lot, it's exposure therapy, because there's so many things you have to consider. So, yeah, that's my reflection on that today. Well, first of all, I hope you could actually even hear what I'm talking about. I hope this rings true for some people, and it's maybe a little push or incentive to give it a try, because the benefits for an overthinker, and also how it can even refine your message, like whatever it is you care about in your work, whether you're a public speaker or not, still getting your message clear on what you believe, what you think about, what's important to you is really important and really powerful. See you in the next one.